Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. First of all, right off the bat, I would like to apologize for not creating any new podcast slash video style content for long. I am busy with some of my professional work, and also I'm busy trying to figure out a way around the things that are going on in the industry, layoffs, visa situations, and things like that. So, that being said, by the way, if it consoles you, I haven't been able to even get time to play video games. So that PlayStation 5 that you see over there, I haven't booted it up for like maybe 3 or 4 months now. I did buy the Alan Wake 2 video game, played for like 30 minutes, and then just did the tutorials part and then never got to play it because I got involved in this big of a mess. Well, I wouldn't call it a mess. It's just more like part of life. There are ups and downs. So I hope this gets resolved soon. Now, coming to today's video or topic, there is a recent there was a recent news where there was some sort of a controversy going on between Google Play Store India and the big Indian apps like Naukri.com. I don't want to name them, sorry, but you get the idea. If you Google it, which is ironical, but if you Google it, you will find that there was some controversy going on between Google Play Store India and these app developers. Now, too long did not read version of this is Google charges a cut for any transaction that goes through the Play Store, and the app developers they don't want to give that cut or that money to Google. And this is a whole debate going on if this is right or wrong. And I just want to put my thoughts on it. I feel this entire situation occurs because how the market works in US and how the market works in India. To give you an example, Indian people, and no offense, I'm an Indian myself. You might have figured that out by my accent. So I can use the term Indian people. So Indian people are very money conscious, and that is because money has always been tight in our country. When I came for my masters, I had an education loan of 12.75%. While that is a huge interest rate, I also see people getting a higher interest rate for things like land, for things like education, and for things like car. For example, if you wanna buy a house in India right now, you would be lucky to get an interest rate of 8% or 8.5%. It's always more than that. For cars, it's always more than that. Credit card, we all know it's like 25 to 30% depending on which bank you have and things like that. So it's crazy. On the US side, the money is not so tight. It's kind of cheap. Like right now, the Federal Reserve increased the interest rate to 5.5 to 6%, and people are freaking out. It's causing a market crash. It's causing layoff. It's causing a slight downturn in house prices and things like that. But still, as someone who's coming from India, 5 and 6% repo rates still feel on the lower side of things. That being said, money is tight in India, and that forces us to take certain steps that the American market does not have. For example, first and foremost, middlemen. India has no concept of middlemen, or has like the least concept of middlemen. For example, here in US, if you want to buy and sell a house, it's impossible without a real estate broker. Like seriously impossible. You cannot do that. If you want to buy a car, except Tesla, that's a new thing right these days. If you want to buy a car, you have to go to a car dealership. The car dealership is the middleman. In India as well, we do have car dealership, but they don't take a cut. Here in US, the car dealership do take a cut. The car gets sold. The car gets marked as sold as soon as it leaves the factory and arrives at the dealer lot. Unlike India, where for example Toyota dealer would just sell Toyota cars, here in US that's not the case. One dealer might sell all the cars or multiple car brands. So you might go to, say, suppose Mark Hamill. I'm just taking a random name here. If there's a Mark Hamill car dealership, I don't have any reference to that here. So Mark Hamill will own all of these dealerships: Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, and he would have the same name: Mark Hamill Honda, Mark Hamill Toyota, Mark Hamill Kia. And what essentially is he doing is he's buying the cars from these factories and selling them in his own dealership. So again, car dealership cars, Dealership, car salesman are a middleman. And that affects price. If I buy a car here in San Jose, that will be more expensive than a car that I buy in Tracy because of the demand and supply. More people are in San Jose, more people are willing to pay more, and dealers can charge above MSRP for cars. If the factory says, if Toyota says, hey, this particular RAV4 is $35,000, the dealers can say, no, pay me 40K or just fuck off. And that has happened. Things like this are unheard of in India. There's no concept of middlemen. Similarly, insurance agents. In US, there's an insurance agent. In India, there is no such thing as insurance agents. So all of these things comes down to a fact of doing business. Google India thinks of itself, or the Play Store division, or whatever you call it, thinks of itself as doing business, while the Indian app developers think of it as a middleman. In India, there's no concept of stockbrokers, or like there is stockbrokers, but you can create a free account and do it all yourself. There's no concept of insurance agents. There's no concept of car dealers. There's no concept of car salesmen. There is absolutely no concept of real estate brokers. There are real estate brokers, but it's not mandatory or required to go through the real estate broker to buy a house or a land or anything like that. Here in US, it's impossible. If you want to buy a house or a land, you have to go through a broker. So Indians really hate middlemen. Why? Because it saves money. Here, if you want to buy or sell a house, it'll cost you 3% to 6%, depending on like which broker you're going to. So what it essentially means is if you're buying a house of $100,000, $3,000 to $6,000 you're just paying to the broker. Imagine paying that much amount of money to a broker, middleman, right? That middleman concept does not exist in India. And this is the reason why there has been a clash between Google India, Play Store division, whatever you call it, and the Indian developers. Google is thinking from an American mindset that, hey, we are the middleman and we deserve a cut. The Indian developers and the Indian consumers thinking of the mindset that you are just a middleman and like there is no use for you. I can download an APK offline, or I can probably just go to a website like www.website.com and I can, have a transaction over there, which would be free, or Google can't take a cut out of that transaction because that's technically not happening on their platform, right? So this created a clash. There's a whole news and controversy going on. I think it has gone to like Supreme Court right now, things like that, whatever. Yeah, you can Google it up. So my thought here is that a quick short thought here is that the Google is doing business from an American standpoint of view. It's telling, hey, I am the middleman and I need this 10%, 20%, 30% cut, whatever. And the Indian developers are like, hey, we don't want to give you a cut. You're just a middleman. And Google is like, what's the problem being a middleman? And that ideology stems from a fact that the American economy is based on middlemen: stockbrokers, insurance agents, car dealerships, real estate brokers, rent brokers, and things like that. In India, since money is tight, people cannot afford to give money to these middlemen. Here in US, the money is so cheap. Like, I'm seeing people getting a home loan at like 5-6% interest rate. They can maybe afford giving money to like brokers and things like that. And also it's the law. Like you cannot like scoot past it, or you cannot ignore that. So here having a middleman or broker is legal, whereas in India it's not. And that is the entire controversy, and that is the entire, the reason of clash. Google needs to think this. India is a population of 1.3 or 4 billion people at this point of time. It's more than 1.2 billion people. Anyways, it's 25 to 20 to 25% of people are Indians on this planet. That's a huge, huge, huge market. The advice would be, or I'm not in a position to give advice, but my idea, if I was Google, would be I don't want to piss Indian developers because they kind of run the industry. Indian developers are running the industry in India. They are running the industry in US, in Bay Area, in Silicon Valley, in Seattle, in Austin, in New York. They are running the industry in Australia, like the tech industry I'm talking about. They are running the industry in Ireland. Like everywhere I am talking to somebody on the engineering team, there are Indian people over there. So you don't want to piss off the Indian devs, because if they get pissed off, they'll try to find alternatives. You know how in college you would root your phone, put some custom ROMs and download APKs and things like that. These people know how to do it. And Android phones are a majority in India, which can be rooted and APKs can be downloaded from another store and put on your phone. Or altogether, they would just force people to not use the Google Pay platform. They'll just put a link telling, hey, you want to pay for our services on the app? Go to this website and pay, because UPI is free. So that's the entire conundrum here. To the Indian developers, I would say you have been given an access to the market, which is the Google Play Store. Now, I understand your reluctance as well, but in the long run, it's really difficult to fight Google. Like, you cannot ignore Google, and even if you can ignore Google for maybe one payment or two payment, they will eventually find a way to take money from you. It might sound weird, but they might. There have been antitrust lawsuits going over Apple here, where Epic Games and Apple had the same thing and Apple won. So if Apple can win, Google will win, might win. Maybe they might not win in India, but they will figure out a way to have their own cut. So this will be an ongoing battle. This has just started, but I feel that this will be the first of the many battles that are going to happen. Now, the alternatives is very simple. Just pay on the website. That's it. But then again, the friction of opening the laptop or opening the browser and paying on the website is something else. Like, I really like the convenience of Apple Pay. Just take your phone, tap and pay and go, done. Now, the Indian consumer would have an extra friction to save that 20% money or whatever that money Google is asking. And they will do it. And if they start doing it, or if they start boycotting that method of payment, then it's going to be really difficult for Google to come back. There is UPI. There are startups like Razorpay and things like that, which promise like almost zero cuts or almost 0% transaction fee. UPI is free. Like I send good amount of money from one account to other account, from my account to my father's account, or from my father's account to like my account. Sometimes 50,000 rupees, or sometimes maybe like 1 lakh rupee, and UPI works just fine. If I went to the traditional route of sending the same money here in US from one bank account to other bank account, I would have to pay 3 to 4% cut. Again, the middleman logic is there. So yeah, this thing will go on, and this thing will go on until Supreme Court comes and says, or whatever the highest decision thing which it goes to, will come and say, hey, this is not gonna work. And most probably they'll side with the Indian developers here, because again, the concept of middleman does not exist in the Indian economy yet. And who knows? Like, they might just issue a huge fine in Google for doing this, or they might issue some sort of a ban or some sort of restriction on Play Store. It's all speculation at this point. I can't comment. But this was something that I thought I would make a video on, because I have lived in US for 5 years now, almost 5 years now, for 4 years, 8 months, or something like that, almost 5 years. And yeah, this is what I notice. Everywhere I go to in US, there's a concept of middleman, like a broker taking a cut of like 5% of whatever you do. Yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are on this video. Sorry for making it like very, very, very quick. I know I might have skipped some words there, but I wanted to make this video to clear my mind as well. It's been so long that I have not made a video like this, and so I thought it would be great if I can share my thoughts with you guys. And if you guys have any thoughts or any suggestions on what you might think, leave the comments down below. I'll definitely take a look. And yeah, thanks for watching. It's now almost 14-15 minutes, so I hope you learned something today. See you guys soon. Bye bye.